after a word from our sponsors. Andrew, you saw Rogan, the thief among us, and between news radio, the UFC, his podcast, Joe Rogan really does do everything now, Andrew.
I mean, he looks great in that armor. But one thing that I am so curious about is who's going to come in this third set. Being up here at the desk, we have no idea who's in the third set, what the bands are. We are just as curious as you are. And Rich, we talked a little bit earlier about the way that games and sets play into the finals. Now, sets don't quite matter in the same, or they're not the same weight as they are in the regular season, whereas if you just win the first 2 sets, it's all over. The games still matter. Every game counts as a point. Every point gets you closer to being in the finals on Sunday.
And that finals on Sunday will be massive, of course. And no matter how it turns out, it's going to be a big time matchup because all these squads are so loaded. We saw KK today. We saw Benzer today.
Yes.
I mean, we've seen, you guys are, of course, already know Immortals and SK if you're watching on the Western feed. And then we have seen so many big-time players.
Oh, wow.
And we haven't seen China yet.
I know. And one thing that since you just mentioned Benzer, and we've been talking about Lapacati, I want to see those two gentlemen play Mortar against one another. Now, our CRL Asia counterparts have told us many times before that Benzer is the best in the world with Mortar. But we might have something to say about that with watching Lapacati throughout the regular season.
Yeah, I will see you your Benzer and raise you one young man with great dance moves.
Yes, he does. And him on the tower, well, we won't be seeing that here at the WCG, but he's got a great smile. He's always having a lot of fun. And, of course, as Rich just said, dancing.
Dancing indeed. And, of course, we've seen this. We're coming to the end. This is our final set of the day. So if you've been sticking around with us, thank you so much for hanging out. You make it all work. Teamwork makes a dream work here at WCG. But, of course, tomorrow is going to be absolutely wild. CRL Asia facing off against CRL China. And we're going to our first look here at WCG at what many say is the best team in the world in Nova.
Yeah, you and I are going to be casting a couple matches tomorrow, kind of out of our comfort zone, not casting any CRL West teams, but we do know about Nova. We know about these teams. We know about the weight that name carries. Everyone is waiting for them to make their debut. But, of course, we have a third and final set still coming your way. PONOS up again, 5-1 over Immortals, repeating last season. Immortals fighting back.
Yeah, I'm honestly a little surprised by what we saw from Immortals, especially what we saw from Royal getting really aggressive in that opening set, in that Golem game. And then, of course, in that 2v2 set, it was that question of keep on loading up and letting Tengad and Mikan Booya control how and where the game was played.
Yeah, in that second game, they just tend to keep running into that brick wall over and over and over. And as you mentioned, in the third game, we had double lava, but PONOS going with the lava loon, recognizing that NATO was banned. So really not a lot of answers for that balloon, whereas as you said, at CRL West, it never showed up because there were not any bans. And that's one thing that may put the CRL West teams at a disadvantage.
You think about that, it wasn't just the balloon, but remember the giant skeleton from before that.
Yeah.
That giant skeleton also with a NATO, totally different story.
That's a very good point. Might have been one of those moments where they looked down, they're like, wait, where's NATO? We always have NATO in 2v2, but not today. And PONOS really capitalizing on what has been a great ban for them.
And who better to take NATO out of the hand of than the God RF, who has made so many insane NATO plays over the years, both in 2v2 and 1v1. And now we're not waiting anymore. Let's head into our head-to-head play. And here we go. Lapacati facing off against Rad.
Now, I do remember seeing a tweet from Lapacati where he said if he got 1,500 likes, he would BM everyone at WCG. And we're seeing it right now.
So if you want to go back, get the 30,000, he'll BM us as well.
This is true. So we see the minor ban here coming out for Rad. Lapacati with the Royal Giant ban. You know that minor ban is directed at the Mortar that Lapacati loves to play. But the other thing is, Lapacati almost never plays Mortar in his first game.
And so we're not going to see Mortar bait here, obviously, or at least not Mortar minor.
Right.
But Lapacati does like to work Mortar into other decks. We've seen him run Mortar Pigs as well, so we'll see if he goes that way. If you're not familiar with Rad, Rad played a lot of 2v2 back in CRL Asia this season, went 14-4 in 2v2 play, and even 9-9 in head-to-head games.
So no slouch here. Rad, a player that might not be quite as heralded as Lapacati in the head-to-head play, but a great record to back.
A new addition to PONOS used to be on FAV Gaming for both, or FAV Gaming for both the 2018 spring and fall splits, getting 3rd and 2nd respectively during the regular season both those times around. You might have also seen him in RPL, but a new addition to round out PONOS, especially since they no longer have Roll of Rome.
This is a very good point. And Rich, now we're seeing the resurgence of the cannon cart with the new balance changes. And of course, Lapakati here running a graveyard deck as well. A very, very strong graveyard deck and a late NATO from Lapakati. That was a waste of elixir.
And that cannon cart does get on tower as well. So this is a rough early going for Lapakati into our double elixir time, and now it's Rad's turn to send the BMs back the opposite direction.
Well, he got away with one there. The late NATO coming in, trying to keep that cannon cart off the tower, actually worked against Lapakati. So now we're going to see how this giant skeleton graveyard deck fares against this goblin giant rascals cannon cart graveyard deck.
It will be interesting to see if Lapakati can turn it around and get graveyards down, how Rad chooses to deal with those.
Yeah, so Lapakati forced to drop the Ice Wiz to defend against that cannon cart, and the giant skeleton bomb bridge not actually doing the cleanup that he may have been looking for.
And Rascals easily pick up that baby dragon, going to our final 15 seconds, and another cannon cart sneaks on through. The Dark Prince does pick it up, but still, it's just so rough. The cannon cart moves very, very quickly, and now you have yet another graveyard in the back. Poison in response to the horse.
And you saw, as soon as Rad saw that giant skeleton played in the back, he went very, very aggressive at the river, knowing Lapakati's only response on the ground otherwise is the Dark Prince and then the Ice Wiz. You don't really want to use the Ice Wiz for that.
Oh, cannon cart forces out the giant skeleton fairly early, although this might end up working out for Lapakati.
You see Lapakati actually just going to sacrifice the giant skeleton, most likely, when you see the Ice Wiz come down in the back, trying to mount a big push here. A very big push here.
NATO is available. Might see him pull all that together.
Yeah.
Yes, he does.
Great
big boom for Lapakati.
Oh, and here we go. You know the graveyard's going to be coming down. This is the moment for Lapakati to come charging back into the game.
Poison seems like it's nowhere for Rad at the moment.
Oh, Dark Prince on the tower. Baby Dragon on the tower. Lapakati walks away. 379. Not enough for Rad. And you see the angry BM coming out. Lapakati bounces back in the final seconds of the game.
And that's why he had the #1 win rate in the regular season for CRL West. That's why he gets my vote for Rookie of the Year from CRL West. That was a tough spot to be in.
Yes.
He looked right down the barrel of that gun and fired right back.
And you saw the moment that things changed. It was right when Rad went very aggressive at the river with the cannon cart. It was picked up by the giant skeleton. We were both wondering, is Lapakati going to go all in? No. 10 elixir down. Mega Minion, Ice Wizard, Baby Dragon, Dark Prince coming in, and then the graveyard. Rad had no answers.
That cannon cart was giving him fits, Andrew, and it was just a couple of shots were the difference there between victory and defeat for Lapakati, and now gets a big win. And you know, even in the hole they're in right now, a win like that has to fire Immortals up.
Yeah, you saw, Lapakati being the rookie that he is, as you just mentioned, he kind of played like the veteran in that match. Not even kind of, he 100% played like the vet in that game. You saw Rad getting the jitters going, I can go for the win. No way, no how. Too much elixir in the hand of Lapo, too many responses, and then, as you said, no poison inside at the end when he needed it the most.
3 seasons in for Rad, and comes up against the young whippersnapper, as you might say, from Lapakati, and a big performance. And, if he's playing this well in his debut season, this debut split,
oh man,
it's going to be frightening what he does this fall.
And here's the thing, if Lapakati sweeps 3-0, then we've only got a 5-4 win by PONOS, with 2 5-4 wins earlier, with SK and Liquid winning earlier. That's still the day for CRL West.
I think it might have been a 5-3 for us because of that draw.
Yes, yes.
So very, very nice. That's a very important gap created. So Lapakati in a great position here to get some big games back for the West. Of course, top two regions make it to our finals on Sunday. This is the end, the final 2 games of day 1. Still 2 more days of pool play left.
You know, and while Modic and Ashtax were up here working very hard throughout the day, we were able to sit back there and see the camaraderie between the 3 teams that just got done facing off against each other a couple weeks ago, and you have to love that. That's one of my favorite things about CRL. It's all battlefield, or it's all seriousness on the battlefield, but as soon as they walk away, they're friends.
Well, that is one thing that camaraderie is really important, Andrew, and it separates CRL West a little bit from certainly CRL Asia, where you have language barriers between Japanese teams, Korean teams, Indonesian teams, whereas with CRL West, the common language and also a lot of common play over the years.
Yes.
These guys have known each other for a long time. They're very close, and they all have each other's backs here at WCG.
Yeah, and you really love that, whether it comes down to just hyping each other up, helping them build decks, helping them scout their opponents, whatever it may be, CRL West is working together today. So right now, Lapakati winning the BM battle probably just by 2 or 3 BMs a second. Oh, yeah. Actions per minute. That's something we should be talking about, right?
Oh, yeah. Certainly. StarCraft 2 also in the building here at WCG. So once you've watched all the Clash Royale possible, go check that out as well. And of course, if you've been following along with the 1v1 tournament, Juicy J had a healthy 3-1 so far.
Really, really proud of Juicy J, a member of Team Liquid last season, now on his own, really making a name for himself here at WCG, and I could not be more proud of that young man.
A very, very early graveyard for Lapakati.
Yeah, maybe seeing a window there, so he goes opposite lane so that a bit of Elixir has to be committed by Rad. And now an Ice Wiz just kind of going to town on that left-hand tower.
Looks like Gaio from Street Fighter's frozen uncle.
Yeah, or maybe even Sub-Zero's grandpa. So a very aggressive Rascals at the river, very easily met by that giant skeleton.
And I cannot tell what that said, but it might have been well played.
Yeah, either well played or maybe wow. I don't know.
A wow is possible.
Speaking of language barriers.
So a couple shots get in, and so far Lapakati pitching a clean game in number 2. Rad down to 1958 on the left-hand tower, which I believe is the year that the 4th Indiana Jones movie was set in, Andrew.
You know, earlier we saw that Ice was taking about 500 HP off that tower, and Lapakati still came out on top with the Elixir lead. So it was a really good decision by Rad, but that also now leaves him open to 1 lane. Lapakati's going to focus on this left-hand lane for the rest of this game, the 3 minutes of overtime coming up.
And this time you see Lapakati doing a much better job of keeping that cannon cart from crossing the river and getting on tower. He learned his lesson from last time.
Yeah, still, okay, finally the first hits come in for Rad, and a great NATO this time on time.
Yeah, this is a much cleaner game from the young player for Immortals this time around. We are 20 seconds into sudden death overtime. Lapakati's starting to feel himself.
Yeah, and you got to be thinking, if Rad is recognizing the fact that Lapakati beat him with this deck in game number 1, even with the misplays, right now playing as well as he is, Rad is in trouble.
And here we go, graveyard down, giant skeleton deep in enemy territory. Not going to get to tower, but will create some opportunities. That Dark Knight doesn't quite get to tower. NATO with a good idea, but a great Goblin Cage in response from Rad.
Yeah, very nice high Goblin Cage from Rad, kind of stopping all those units in their tracks. Baby Dragon does not connect.
Rad playing some very, very by the skin of his teeth defense, but it is working out, and that's really good news for Lapakati. That giant skeleton making its way to the high side of that tower. Gonna eat a lot, but does mitigate that damage from the cannon cart.
And now a huge counter push coming down, and the Baby Dragon tanking for that giant skeleton. The last thing you ever want is to have your opponent's giant skeleton being tanked for.
Giant skeleton getting knocked around by that Goblin Brawler. Rad forced not to play too much until late because he knows about that big kaboom coming his way. Down to the final minute 20 of this overtime period. Things pretty much even. Remember, draws just go down as a 0-0 game.
Yeah, one 15 left here, and Lapakati doing an excellent job of managing the timing of playing the Giant Skeleton in the back.
Poison down defensively. Cannon Cart sticks in the back. Baby Dragon still very healthy.
And the Mega Minion, Rich. They are both basically at 100%, and now you see very clean defense being played by the PONOS representative.
That's the second or third time that Lapakati has tried to pull off that little fancy footwork with the tornado and not had it pay off. Rad seeming to read that and play a high troop to keep the aggro looking the opposite direction.
Giant Skeleton played in the back once again, recognizing the Ice Moose can pick up anything super aggressive at the river. Lapakati gonna opt to not play his poison in this moment, Rich. I know it because he wants to use it on offense.
Yeah, not worried about losing his tower here and really hoping he can get one last push and maybe steal this. So let's see if Lapakati can pull off a second miracle in a row.
15 seconds is enough time. The high cannon cart comes down. No way, no how. This will be a draw.
NATO pulls Brawler opposite direction. Not going to be enough. And there we go, a 0-0 game in our second stanza.
So Lapakati and Rad going back to the graveyard well, but this time Lapakati playing much cleaner, but Rad staying in control of the game.
That's a really good point, is Lapo played much, much cleaner. Rad also played very well in the first game, just had a moment where he kind of lost focus, and this time didn't lose focus, played very well himself, and neither guy was really able to break through.
And it was the use of the Goblin Cages, honestly. He kept bringing things towards the center, distracting that Giant Skeleton or the high Goblin Cage to keep things from crossing the river. That Cannon Cart, so much DPS, so much health, and of course immune to the Giant Skeleton bomb.
That's a very, very good point with that first shot coming down. And another thing to think about here is that while Lapakati did play much cleaner on the defensive side, he also got way more aggressive offensively. And we saw about either 6 or 9 elixir used on those fancy tornado plays that were pretty well read by Rad.
Yeah, and to use one of your sayings, Rich, fast and loose, but really not paying off for Lapakati that time. Those nados were very ill-advised throughout most of that game. Now, he did use a couple of them defensively, as you said, very, very well, but on offense, just not kind of hitting the way that he would have liked.
Well, that's some of the experience of Rad, who's been around for so long.
Yeah.
He read that play. He knew that's what Lapa was going for, and it was the last one that was really impressive, because Lapakati did get those troops NATO to Princess Tower, but you saw the high Mega Minion turn the Baby Dragon the opposite direction before it could go that direction, and that might have been a game saver.
So now, do we see Lapakati maybe play Mortar Royal Hogs in this final game? Does he go to his comfort? Does he go back to Mortar? Now, obviously, Miner has been banned by Rad, but we all know that Royal Hogs Mortar deck is very effective, and with swapping out the Fireball for the Rocket, which we've seen a couple times, it really increases the cycle ability of that deck as well.
You know, Andrew, I'm not a gambling man unless you ask me to gamble.
I mean, I might.
And right now I'm going to take a bet that we're going to see that same match played a third time.
You think so?
Yeah, I think they're both going to do it.
Well, there's only one way to find out, Rich. Here we go. Game number 3, set number 3, in match number 3 of day number 1 at WCG.
And that's a lot of numbers. Lapakati proves me wrong. Is Lapo by any chance, you know, it could be Hog EQ.
There it is.
There you go.
And honestly, seeing that Goblin Hut coming down early, Lapakati's got to be feeling great about his deck choice.
Is he playing Inferno Tower? That's a key staple component of this deck. But a lot of people are kind of sour on Inferno Tower at this stage.
So Furnace in the back, wondering if Rad's going to go back to Reiki Jones' Royal Giant spawner deck, and most likely yes. Oh, no,
but
wait,
RG's banned.
The RG is banned, so maybe Mega Knight we have seen with spawners as well.
And Mortar Hog Rider. So Hog EQ with Mortar instead. Never ceases to amaze, Andrew.
And Cannon Cart with spawners this time around. So we do get Lapakati playing some Mortar. Obviously not with the Miner, which is his favorite variation, and a Mega Knight does come down from Rad.
And that's 2 big swings. Not quite a third from the Hog Rider. And Mega Knight not going to get that leap all the way off. Bats do their job.
I'm very glad that I was correct on that Mega Knight call after I completely ignored the right-hand side of the screen and the Royal Giant ban. It's been a long day.
Guys, we've been here for a few minutes. Reaching the midway point of regulation time, and at the moment, it is Lapakati in the lead. Furnace does pick, oh no, look at that. Mortar turns towards the spawn troops rather than towards the Furnace.
Lapacati opted to completely ignore the spawners in the left-hand lane for the moment to get another big couple of huge hog swings in.
And there you go. Late bats do stop the bleeding for a moment. Mortar, though, not going to turn the tower anymore. Down to 975, right-hand lane. Flying Machine takes a couple shots through, and Lapo mortars up one more time.
Yeah, and I like the late mortar to let the Flying Machine connect to the tower. No reason to preserve health on that tower. And then you see the immediate Valkyrie coming down, knowing that Rad played defense the exact same way early on in this game.
And there you go, EQ left-hand lane. So that's one way to deal with that Furnace. And now this Mega Knight does get turned back around by the Valkyrie, who's made a big resurgence in usage in the last couple of months.
And you see here that Rad is actually still in the lead. These spawning units that Lapacati has opted to ignore have really caught up with him.
And so Lapacati playing a lot of familiar cards that he's used to working with in his comfort decks, but mixing them in with this really fascinating Hog EQ.
And now we're going to see Lapacati have to pay attention to the Fire Spirits in the left-hand lane, Rich.
He's going to let them go one more time. There you go.
There we go.
There we go. Oof. And Valkyrie played very low.
Lapacati in a very precarious situation here. Mortar gets one shot in on the tower.
Great placement on that Musketeer. Does her job very well, but still more Fire Spirits coming down. High skeletons. That Musketeer's going to get eaten up by the Flying Machine. Valkyrie now goes left down to 641. 572 on the right-hand side. Things are neck
down
and
at the
neck.
perfect time. A nice EQ to pick up the Furnace as well. Hog will not connect, but only 389 HP remaining in the top right.
At this point, Andrew, do you just play defense and cycle Earthquakes?
I don't know, but Lapacati's going to give me a heart attack with his late pickups of these spawning units. An aggressive Mega Knight, most likely going to be picked up by a Valkyrie. There it is.
Lot behind right now, though, Andrew. Cannon Cart, Mega Knight, Mega Minions, Swarm Troops all over the place. Musketeer behind. Cannon Cart goes to the Musketeer rather than a tower.
Very, very clean defense from Lapacati. Now
there's
going to EQ cycle out. Very good call, Rich, and this should do it.
Giant Snowball puts that in range, so just has to defend one more time cleanly. Get
there
back around, and there you go. Lapacati takes game number 2.
Game number 3, the draw.
Oh, yes, the draw. That's absolutely right. I forgot about the 0-0. So Lapacati closing out the day with 2-0 for that final set, and that was a fun deck to look at. We saw it, we're like, okay, Hog EQ, but Inferno Tower is out of the meta at the moment,
really
so
is.
What's he doing? Mortar comes out. We talked about Lapacati loving to work Mortar in, and we saw it there in that final game.
And, you know, he knows not only was the Mortar connected to the tower a couple times, but really what he did is he would bait out defensive responses that he knew Rad would play, and that was one of the reasons why he ended up coming out on top. You saw Rad kept playing that Cannon Cart in response to the Mortar. He had to switch things up as he got closer to overtime. Lapacati just barely scraping by, though.
Well, then you have the Bats as well, which played such a key, pivotal role in defending against that Mega Knight. So much DPS, and they have to be dealt with. So very nice construction from Immortals.
And that's one of the things when you see Goblin Hut, when you see Furnace, you have to think that your opponent probably doesn't have a lot of spells in their deck because the Fire Spirits are essentially a spell.
That was a big moment. So here you go, a rough opening couple of sets for Immortals, taking the 3-0 loss for Royal against Reiki Jones to open up the game, open up the match, and then the 2v2 going 2-1 to Meekin Booyah and Tengod, and then Lapacati doing what he did all season, coming out in the end and getting a big win.
Yeah, 2-2, I guess 0 with that one draw in the middle. Rad played very, very well. You saw the double graveyards from both players in the first 2 games. Switching it up in the third, Lapacati comes out on top. So CRL West having a nice showing today, but also CRL Asia doing very, very well all the way across the board. Yeah,
a lot of tight matches earlier today. Of course, we saw one just recently. The game with Liquid match was very, very close. SK Chaos Theory, very close as well. So, and then we come here, and it looked like a blowout until the young guy takes the stage.
And, you know, this could be a big, kind of an early premiere of what we may see at World Finals this year. These teams, these players coming up against each other halfway through the season is really a treat for us here.
It is really, really fun to see Yeah, like you might say, a preview, a chance for them to establish some rivalries before heading into that last part of our season. Of course, Split 2 coming around in the fall will lead into the CRL World Finals, and you have to expect that at least a couple of these 9 teams are going to make it there.
Yeah, and honestly, this rivalry is still very, very heated between PONOS and Immortals. PONOS edging out Immortals once again, almost a year later, and you know that all 4 players in blue want to take down the boys from Japan. They just can't seem to do it.
And it's one of those things where you look across the podium from you, right? You take a look at Reiki Jones, and you take a look at Miken Booya in particular. Both 2 very effusive players.
Yes.
2 guys who are both talking out loud a whole bunch. And you kind of, even though they're talking to themselves, you feel like they're talking to you.
Yeah, I mean, Mikan he has such a great stage presence. Yeah, even the way he holds his phone, you're like, man, I don't want to play Clash against that guy. He's gonna cast a spell.
Yeah,
it's insane.
No, it is actually intimidating the way he plays. But then think about this: you're looking across at La Picati, who looks like he just got out of grade school yesterday.
He honestly
does. And he's dancing the entire time he's playing you, BMing, giving kind of little like looks.
He's the new guard coming in. He's changing things up. He's the young blood coming in. Honestly, the BMs we haven't seen a ton of today. We saw a little bit in the Liquid match, but not a lot. But La Picati holding true to his fans. He promised, he gave him those likes, he would give you those BMs. Not only does he give the BMs, he also takes the set.
So taking a look at today's results, and we opened up Game With versus Team Liquid, and Team Liquid taking that 2-1. And of course, opened up with that dominant performance by Buffmac, and then Surge Canario doing what they do best.
Yeah, so you actually see we're at a tie, in sets today, because Benzer was able to hang on for Chaos Theory, a man that has been called the greatest player in the world. You saw that less than 200 HP draw that he came out, and that kept SK from taking 2-1. So we have a tied up day in day number 1 of WCG 2019.
And going into tomorrow, you'll be back here with myself and Andrew for these 2 opening matches. PONOS against Nova, so the debut of Elsiop. Yeah. Probably the most feared player in all of Clash Royale tomorrow morning here. And then followed up by Game With versus EDGM. We'll be here with you again for that. And then Chaos Theory versus LGD rounding out the day.
I cannot wait for day number 2 of WCG. I cannot wait to see Nova Esports come out, make their debut, and also, who doesn't want to watch KK play more 1v1?
Oh man, KK was so exciting today, and he's a guy who really carried his team a lot of the way through the season.
Yeah.
Same thing with Benzer, so we'll see more from both of those guys tomorrow. Maybe get a shot at seeing Oh Yeah get thrown into the mix.
Yeah, our old friend Oh Yeah, the Immortals player from last year, now moving over to Chaos Theory. And the other thing that we have to ask about Chaos Theory is what are they going to do from tonight to tomorrow morning to fix that 2v2 set?
That is very, very important. You saw a lot of struggles there with that 3-0 loss to SK Gaming. Now, that being said, Morton and Sam have played 2v2 so well together, and they are so confident. You know, in between, we weren't here at the desk, obviously, for that match.
Yeah.
And in between games, Sam was giving me looks and giving me little eyebrow raises because he's always so confident. So they played very, very well all throughout that 2v2 and did put some big questions for Chaos Theory. But the big story there, you know, Andrew, you're talking about the games earlier on. The sets were a total draw now because of that draw you mentioned. So now those games become even more important. And at the end of the day right now, it is the West in the lead on games throughout this overall set.
Yeah, just barely. I think it's maybe just 1 or 2 games that they're ahead, which is exactly what you'd expect when you have all of the best players and the best teams in the entire world competing here at the CRL Invitational, competing for that first place prize.
You know, don't quote me on that game number. I realize I didn't write the games down before, so anything's possible right now. This was absolutely wild. What a great first day of WCG, and of course we have a lot more. We're back again tomorrow with the lineup you just saw, and then back again on Saturday with the West facing off against China.
Yeah, so we will be back here tomorrow for 2 matches. Of course, our counterparts will be back for the 3rd match. It has been such a pleasure to be back. A bit shorter of a break than it was from World Finals to the beginning of CRL West, but I am so, so happy and excited to be here. You see this incredible room, this incredible arena that we get the pleasure to be a part of, Rich.
Yeah, this is a quite the experience. There's robots fighting. Did you know that robots are fighting? It's like, it's right, you see where my finger is? It's right about there. There are robots controlled by humans with like mech suits on fighting each other. This is absolutely insane.
It's real still. So, we will be back tomorrow. We thank you guys so very much for watching. I won't close us out because that's your job. It almost felt weird to start doing it. So, Rich, send us home.
That's Andrew Guy. I'm Rich Slayton. We're in China, and we will see you back here tomorrow.